The massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers slid open with a deep rumble that echoed through the hall. Ambassador Lucas Kane walked forward, his black diplomatic uniform standing out against the colorful robes and exotic forms of the alien representatives. Behind him, Commander Amy Foster kept her hand close to her sidearm, though she knew it would be useless against the dozens of species gathered in the circular chamber. The room was huge, built to accommodate beings of all sizes, giant insectoids sat next to floating energy creatures, while crystalline beings sparkled under the artificial lights. At the center of it all stood the Zephyrian Chancellor, Crystal, his body made of living crystal that changed colors as he spoke. "The human delegation will approach the speaking circle," Crystal announced, his voice carrying a tone that made it clear this was not a request. Lucas walked to the center of the chamber, feeling the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon him. He had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 5 years, and in all that time he had never seen the Council so united against humanity. Usually they spent their time arguing with each other about trade routes and mining rights. Today was different. "Ambassador Kane," Crystal began, his crystal form glowing brighter, "humanity has become a problem that can no longer be ignored." The Altarian representative, a towering creature named Vex-High, clicked his sharp mandibles in agreement. His insect-like head turned toward Lucas, compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lights. "Your species spreads too quickly across the galaxy. In just 50 years, you have established colonies on over 200 worlds." "We have followed all council regulations," Lucas replied calmly. "Every colony was established in accordance with the Galactic Settlement Treaty." A new voice spoke from the shadows. The hegemony representative, a being that looked like living shadow with glowing red eyes, stepped forward. "Legal or not, human expansion threatens the natural order. Younger species should know their place." Amy shifted uncomfortably beside Lucas. She had fought in 3 border conflicts against pirates and rebels, but facing down the combined might of the Galactic Council was something entirely different. The humans had always been careful to appear weak, to let the other species think they were just another young race trying to find their place in the galaxy. "The Council has made a decision," Crystal announced. "Humanity will surrender all colonies beyond the 20 light-year limit from your homeworld. You will also accept Council oversight of your military forces and submit to regular inspections. Of your industrial facilities." The chamber fell silent. Lucas could feel his heart pounding, but he kept his face neutral. This was the moment they had all been preparing for, though he had hoped it would never come. "And if we refuse?" Lucas asked. The Altarian Vex-High made a sound that might have been laughter. "Then you will be removed from those worlds by force. The Council has already assembled a fleet of 300 ships. Your entire military consists of what? 50 vessels. You cannot hope to resist." Lucas glanced at Amy, who gave him the slightest nod. She was thinking the same thing he was. If only they knew the truth. "We need time to consider your terms," Lucas said carefully. "This is not a decision we can make without consulting our government." "You have 48 hours, Crystal replied. "After that, Council forces will begin reclaiming the worlds you have illegally occupied." The session ended with the sound of the great doors closing. Lucas and Amy found themselves alone in the corridor outside the chamber, surrounded by the soft hum of the space station's life support systems. "They really think we're helpless," Amy said quietly. "Good," Lucas replied. "Let them keep thinking that for another day." They walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime, the Council's administrative center. The station was enormous, housing millions of beings from across the galaxy. Markets, offices, and living quarters stretched out in all directions, connected by transport tubes and walkways that seemed to defy gravity. As they passed a group of young Zephyrian traders, Lucas heard one of them speaking to his companion. "The humans are finished. They push too hard, too fast. The Council will make an example of them." Amy's hand tightened on her weapon, but Lucas placed a gentle hand on her arm. "Not yet," he whispered. They reached their quarters in the diplomatic section of the station. The rooms were simple but comfortable, designed to accommodate human needs. Lucas activated the privacy shield and pulled out his secure communicator. "This is Ambassador Kane requesting priority transmission to Earth Command," he said into the device. "Authorization code Kane 77 Delta." The response came through his neural implant almost immediately. Admiral Patricia Wells' voice sounded tired but determined. "I've been expecting your call, Lucas. How bad is it?" "As bad as we thought it would be? They want us to give up everything beyond the 20-light-year limit. Full surrender, basically." "And the timeline? 48 hours, then they send in the fleet?" There was a long pause. Lucas could imagine the Admiral sitting in her office deep beneath the Colorado mountains, looking out at displays showing the true extent of humanity's reach across the galaxy. "Very well," Admiral Wells finally said. "Operation Revelation is authorized. Time to show them what we've really been doing out here." Lucas felt a chill run down his spine. Operation Revelation was the plan they had all hoped would never be necessary. For decades, humanity had been playing a careful game, pretending to be a young species just learning to walk among the stars. They had hidden their true capabilities, their real technology, and most importantly, their actual history. "Are you sure about this?" Lucas asked. "Once we do this, there's no going back." "They made the choice for us," Admiral Wells replied. "Begin the preliminary phase. Contact our people on the border worlds. Tell them to prepare for emergence." The transmission ended, leaving Lucas alone with Amy in the quiet of their quarters. Outside the window, the stars looked peaceful, giving no hint of the storm that was about to break across the galaxy. "So it's really happening," Amy said. "It was always going to happen eventually," Lucas replied. "We just hoped we'd have more time to prepare." He thought about the colonies the Council wanted humanity to abandon. New Montana, with its hidden underground facilities. Riverside, where archaeological teams had been making discoveries that changed everything they thought they knew about human history. And dozens of other worlds where humans had been quietly building something the galaxy had never seen before. "What do you think they'll do when they find out the truth?" Amy asked. Lucas looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of the galaxy, ancient ships were beginning to wake up. Ships that had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. "I think," he said slowly, "that they're going to realize they made a very big mistake." The next morning, Lucas stood in the council chambers once again. The alien representatives looked confident, certain that humanity would bow to their demands. They had no idea that their ultimatum had just triggered the awakening of something that had been sleeping in the darkness between the stars. "Have you reached a decision?" Crickstall asked. Lucas smiled. For the first time in years, he didn't have to pretend to be weak. "We have, and I think you're going to find our answer very interesting." The game was about to change. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity had been hiding something far more significant than anyone had ever imagined. And Lucas Kane, ambassador of Earth, was about to watch the established order of the galaxy crumble around him. The age of pretending was over. 3 days after the Council's ultimatum, the first alien fleet arrived at New Montana. The ships dropped out of hyperspace like deadly flowers blooming in the darkness, their hulls gleaming under the light of the system's twin suns. Fleet Commander Yarthok of the Hegemony Navy stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human colony world grow larger on his screens. 200 ships, he said to his aide, a younger officer named Veltar. More than enough to deal with whatever pathetic resistance these humans might offer. Yarthok was a veteran of 12 campaigns against rebellious worlds. He had seen species try to resist the Council's will before, and it always ended the same way. The humans would fire a few shots, lose a ship or two, and then surrender. It was almost boring. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from a human civilian transport. They're requesting permission to evacuate non-essential personnel from the planet." "Granted," Yarthok replied. "Let them run. It will make the occupation easier." On the bridge of the civilian transport ship, Frontier Spirit, Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien fleet deploy around his world. His weathered face showed no emotion, but inside he felt a mixture of excitement and dread. The moment they had all been preparing for had finally arrived. "Sir," called Navigator Lisa Parker from her station, "the aliens are demanding we evacuate all civilians within 6 hours. They say anyone remaining will be considered a combatant." Jake nodded slowly. Lisa was young, maybe 25, and she had joined his crew only a year ago. She had no idea what was really happening, what was really at stake. Very few people did. "Open a channel to the colony," Jake ordered. "Tell Governor Clark it's time." Down on the planet's surface, the message reached Colonial Governor Ben Clark in his office in the capital city of Riverside. Clark was a big man, with gray hair and kind eyes, the sort of person who made others feel safe just by being around. But today, those kind eyes held a hard edge that few people had ever seen. "Helen," he called to his chief of operations, Helen Ross, "activate the deep scan protocols. I want to know everything about that fleet up there." Helen Ross was a small woman with short brown hair and quick hands that danced across her control panels. She had been with Clark for 8 years, and in all that time, she had never seen him look so serious. "Sir," she said, "are you sure about this? Once we activate the deep scanners, there's no hiding what we really have down here." "They made the choice for us," Clark replied. "Do it." Deep beneath the planet's surface, hidden scanners that had been disguised as mining equipment began to power up. The scanning arrays were more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen, capable of reading the thoughts of enemy commanders and predicting their next moves within minutes. The scanners had mapped every ship in the alien fleet. They knew which ships carried the most weapons, which ones had the weakest shields, and most importantly, which ship held Fleet Commander Yarthok himself. "Sir," Helen reported, her voice filled with wonder, "we have complete tactical information on the entire fleet. Their weapons, their shields, their command structure, everything. But that wasn't the most important discovery. For the past 3 years, archaeological teams had been working in the ruins outside Riverside. The ruins had been there when the first human colonists arrived, ancient stone structures that seemed to serve no purpose. But as the teams dug deeper, they had found something that changed everything. "Get me Dr. Sarah Walsh," Clark ordered. Dr. Sarah Walsh was the head of the archaeological team, a woman in her 40s with dirty blonde hair and tired eyes. She had been working 80-hour days for the past month, ever since the teams had made their incredible discovery. "Governor," she said as she entered the command center, "the final tests are complete. There's no doubt about it anymore." "Tell me," Clark said quietly. "The ruins aren't alien," Dr. Walsh said. "They're human, but they're old, Governor." "Really?" "Old. The carbon dating shows they're over 3,000 years old." Clark felt his stomach drop. 3,000 years ago, according to all official records, humans had barely learned to use fire. They certainly hadn't been building cities on distant worlds. "There's more," Dr. Walsh continued. "We found written records. The language is old, but it's definitely human. And the things they describe, Governor, our ancestors had technology that makes our current ships look like toys." In the ruins, the archaeological team had found star charts showing hundreds of human worlds, technical manuals for weapons that could destroy entire fleets, and most disturbing of all, records of a great war that had nearly destroyed human civilization. "They withdrew," Dr. Walsh explained. "The records are unclear about why, but it seems like humanity voluntarily gave up most of their colonies and went into hiding. They left behind only the most basic technology and pretended to be a young species just discovering space travel." "But why?" Clark asked. "I don't know," Dr. Walsh admitted. "But the records mention something called the Deep Fleet, ships that were sent beyond the edge of the galaxy to wait for the right time to return." Clark activated his secure communicator. "This is New Montana Control to the Odyssey. Priority. Alpha, Captain Brooks, it's time to come home." The response came immediately, but from the location that shouldn't have been possible. The transmission was coming from beyond the edge of the galaxy, from a place where no human ship should have been able to survive. "Governor Clark," came the voice of Captain Danny Brooks, We've been waiting for your call. The Deep Fleet is ready to return. On his flagship, Fleet Commander Yarthok was growing impatient. The humans had been stalling for hours, loading civilians onto transport ships and sending them away from the planet. It was taking too long. Signal the planet, he ordered. Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender, or we begin bombardment. The message was received in the command center beneath Riverside. Clark looked at the tactical displays showing the alien fleet in perfect detail. 200 ships, all of them obsolete by human standards, all of them completely unprepared for what was about to happen. Governor, Helen said quietly, I'm detecting something strange. Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. Something's coming out of hyperspace. Clark smiled for the first time in days. That would be the cavalry. Captain Jake Morrison received the message on his transport ship. The time for hiding was over. The time for pretending to be weak was finished. He activated his ship's hidden systems, systems that had been disguised as cargo containers and life support equipment. Lisa, he said to his navigator, I need you to listen very carefully. Everything you thought you knew about humanity is about to change. Lisa Parker looked confused. Sir, I don't understand. You will, Jake replied. In about 30 seconds, you're going to see ships that will change everything you believe about who we are and where we came from. On the planet's surface, the hidden weapon systems began to power up. Massive energy cannons that had been disguised as communications arrays started to rotate toward the alien fleet. Shield generators that had been hidden beneath the city's buildings began to create a protective barrier around the entire planet. Sir, the alien communications officer reported to Fleet Commander Yarthok, the humans are powering up some kind of defensive system. But it's impossible. Our intelligence reports showed they had no planetary defenses. Impossible or not, destroy it, Yarthok ordered. Open fire on the planet. The alien fleet began its bombardment, sending streams of energy toward the human colony, but something incredible happened. The energy beams simply disappeared, absorbed by shields that shouldn't have existed. Commander, the sensor officer reported, his voice shaking, the energy weapons are having no effect. And sir, I'm detecting massive hyperspace signatures. Multiple contacts, size classification unknown, they're bigger than anything in our databases. Yarthok stared at his screens in disbelief. How big? Sir, the largest contact is 15 kilometers long. It's 3 times the size of our biggest battleship. In the depths of space beyond the edge of the galaxy, the UES Odyssey began its journey home. Captain Danny Brooks stood on the bridge of the ancient warship, surrounded by technology that had been waiting in the darkness for centuries. All ships, he commanded, prepare for dimensional transit. It's time to remind the galaxy who we really are. The truth was about to be revealed. Humanity had been hiding for 3,000 years, pretending to be young and weak while their ancient fleet waited in the darkness. Now, with their colonies under attack, the mask was about to come off. The galaxy was about to discover that they had made a terrible mistake. In the deepest reaches of space, far beyond the edge of the galaxy, something ancient stirred to life. The UES Odyssey had been waiting in the darkness for over 300 years, its massive hull hidden by technology that bent light and space around it. Now, as emergency signals reached them from the human colonies, the great ship began to wake up. Captain Danny Brooks stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, watching as control panels that had been dark for centuries began to glow with soft blue light. The ship was enormous, 15 kilometers from nose to tail, built during an age when humanity had ruled the stars. Brooks was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands, chosen for this mission because of his calm nature and deep understanding of the old ways. Captain, announced the ship's AI in a voice that sounded like his grandmother, all primary systems are coming online. Quantum displacement drives are charging to full capacity. Temporal shielding is active. Brooks nodded to his first officer. Commander Nancy Price? She was younger than him, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and quick reflexes. Like everyone on the Odyssey, she had been born during the long wait, trained from childhood for this moment. Signal the fleet, Brooks ordered. All ships prepare for dimensional transit. The time of hiding is over. Around the Odyssey, 12 other massive vessels began to appear as their cloaking fields dropped away. Each ship was a marvel of ancient human engineering, built with technology that the current galaxy couldn't even understand. They had been waiting in the void between galaxies, powered by cores that drew energy from the fabric of space itself. The fleet began to move, reality bending around them as they prepared to cross the impossible distance back to their home galaxy. These were not the crude ships the galaxy had seen humans use. These were the products of a civilization that had once reached every corner of the known universe. Meanwhile, at New Montana, Fleet Commander Yarthok was discovering that his easy victory was becoming something very different. The human colony world was protected by shields that his weapons couldn't penetrate, and his sensors were showing impossible readings. "Commander," his weapons officer reported, "the planetary shields are absorbing 100% of our firepower. It's like they're feeding on our energy weapons." Yarthok studied the tactical display with growing confusion. According to every intelligence report, the humans had no advanced technology. They were supposed to be a young species, barely 50 years into space travel, yet somehow they had shield technology that surpassed anything the Council possessed. "Increase firepower," he ordered. "Concentrate all batteries on a single point. No shield can withstand the combined fire of 200 ships." The alien fleet focused their weapons on one section of the planetary barrier. Energy beams from dozens of ships converged on the shields, creating a light show that could be seen from space. But the shields held, glowing brighter as they absorbed the incoming energy on the planet's surface. Governor Clark watched the attack from his command center deep underground. The hidden facilities around him buzzed with activity, as technicians monitored systems that had been disguised as civilian infrastructure for decades. "Sir," reported Helen Ross, "shield strength is at 98% and climbing." "Their weapons are actually making us stronger." Clark allowed himself a small smile. The shield technology was based on principles that the galaxy's current science couldn't grasp. Instead of trying to stop incoming energy, the shields converted it into power for the planet's defensive systems. "Any word from the Odyssey?" Clark asked. "Captain Brooks reports they'll be here in 15 minutes, Helen replied. "The Deep Fleet is ready for full emergence." Above them, Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien bombardment from his transport ship. His navigator, Lisa Parker, stared at the tactical displays with growing amazement. "Captain," she said, "how is this possible? The shields are getting stronger, not weaker. And these energy readings, they're off the charts." Jake decided it was time to tell her the truth. "Lisa, everything we've told the galaxy about humanity has been a lie. We're not a young species. We're not newcomers to space travel. We've been out here for thousands of years." Lisa's face went pale. "That's impossible. The history books, the first contact records, all carefully created fiction," Jake explained. 3,000 years ago, humanity had an empire that spanned multiple galaxies. We had technology that could reshape reality itself. But something happened, something that forced us to withdraw and hide. "What happened?" Lisa asked. "We nearly destroyed ourselves," Jake replied. "And we decided that the galaxy would be safer if we let it think we were gone." The conversation was interrupted by an alarm from the sensor station. The ship's computer announced in a calm voice, "Massive hyperspace signatures detected. Unknown. Vessels approaching." Fleet Commander Yarthok received the same warning on his flagship. "Report," he demanded. "Sir," his sensor officer said, voice shaking, 13 massive contacts emerging from hyperspace. Size classification. I've never seen anything like this. The largest is 15 kilometers long." "Impossible," Yarthok replied. "No ship that size could function. The power requirements alone, ... Sir, they're real. And they're heading directly for us." The first ship to appear was the UES Odyssey itself. It dropped out of hyperspace like a mountain falling from the sky, its massive hull dwarfing even the largest ships in the alien fleet. The vessel was sleek and deadly, covered in armor that seemed to absorb light, rather than reflect it. Behind it came the other ships of the deep fleet. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering, built during humanity's golden age when they had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe. They moved with grace despite their enormous size, their hulls glowing with power that the galaxy had forgotten existed. "By the void," whispered Yarthok. "What are those things?" Captain Brooks opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice was calm but carried an authority that made every being who heard it take notice. "This is Captain Danny Brooks of the United Earthship Odyssey. You are in violation of human territorial sovereignty. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Yarthok stared at the massive vessel on his screens. "Impossible. Humans don't have ships like this. Your species barely achieved faster than light travel 50 years ago." "Your information is incomplete," Brooks replied. "We've been traveling the stars for over 3,000 years. We've simply chosen to let you believe otherwise." The truth hit the alien fleet like a physical blow. Across dozens of ships, commanders and crew members stared at their sensors in disbelief. The energy readings from the human ships were beyond anything they had ever encountered. On the planet below, Colonel Ryan Davis commanded the Surface Defense Forces. He was a career soldier who had spent his entire life preparing for this moment, without really believing it would come. "Sir," one of his technicians reported, "I'm receiving priority signals from 17 other human worlds. Ancient fleets are emerging everywhere. Ships that predate the Council itself." Davis felt a chill run through him. This wasn't just about New Montana anymore. Across human space, the hidden fleets were revealing themselves. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity had been quietly building strength for centuries. "How many ships?" Davis asked. "Thousands, sir. Maybe tens of thousands, and they're all heading for Council worlds." The implications were staggering. Not only was humanity more advanced than anyone had suspected, but they had been planning this moment for a very long time. Every human colony, every seemingly innocent trade post, every diplomatic mission had been part of a vast preparation for this day. Captain Brooks watched the alien fleet's formation begin to waver. Ships that had been confident in their superiority moments before were now backing away from the human vessels. The sensor readings alone were enough to terrify any experienced commander. "Commander Price," Brooks said to his first officer, "signal the fleet, full tactical formation. Let them see what they're really dealing with." The 13 massive ships moved into a formation that spoke of ancient military doctrine and centuries of experience. Their hulls began to glow brighter as weapon systems that had been dormant for hundreds of years came online. The space around them seemed to bend and twist as reality warping technology prepared for battle. Fleet. Commander Yarthok realized with growing horror that his fleet of 200 ships was facing something that could destroy them all without effort. The energy readings from just one of the human vessels exceeded the combined output of his entire fleet. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender demands from the human ships. They're giving us 30 seconds to withdraw or be destroyed." Yarthok looked at his tactical displays one more time. The human ships were arranged in a formation that would allow them to destroy his fleet in minutes. Their weapons were beyond anything he had ever seen, their shields were impenetrable, and their very presence was rewriting everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. "All ships," he ordered, his voice hollow, "prepare to withdraw. We are outmatched, the age of human hiding was ending." The galaxy was about to learn that they had been living under the watchful eyes of an ancient civilization that had chosen to remain hidden until the moment they were threatened. And that moment had finally arrived. The U's Odyssey hung in space above New Montana like a dark god of war. Its massive hull blocked out the stars as Captain Danny Brooks prepared to reveal the full truth to a galaxy that had forgotten humanity's real history. Around him, his bridge. Crew worked at stations that hummed with power beyond anything the current civilizations could imagine. Open a channel to all ships in the system, Brooks commanded, both ours and theirs. It's time they learned who they're really dealing with. The communication reached every vessel in the new Montana system, from the smallest scout ship to Fleet Commander Yarthaka's flagship. Brooks' voice carried across space with the weight of 3,000 years of hidden history. I am Captain Danny Brooks of the United Earthship Odyssey, flagship of the Deep Fleet. For 3 centuries, we have watched from the darkness beyond the galactic rim. We have seen species rise and fall, watched civilizations build their first ships and take their first steps into the void. And through it all, we have remained hidden. On his flagship, Yarthak listened with growing dread. His sensors showed that the human ships were still powering up, revealing weapon systems that defied everything he thought he knew about physics. You call us a young species, Brooks continued. You treat us like children who have just learned to walk among the stars. But the truth is very different. Humanity has been traveling between galaxies for over 3,000 years. We built the first hyperspace lanes. We mapped the quantum streams that connect distant worlds. We were old when your civilizations were still learning to make fire. The words hit the alien fleet like a physical blow. Across dozens of ships, commanders stared at their tactical displays in shock. The energy readings from the human vessels were climbing steadily, showing power levels that should have been impossible. On the planet below, Governor Clark received reports from across human space. Similar scenes were playing out on 17 different worlds as hidden human fleets emerged from their hiding places. Sir, Helen Ross reported, we're getting confirmations from all sectors. The deep fleet ships are revealing themselves everywhere. And it's not just ships, entire space stations are decloaking. Bases we never knew existed are coming online. Clark felt a mixture of pride and fear. The plan they had been preparing for generations was finally happening. But once this truth was revealed, there would be no going back to the old way of hiding. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Lucas Kane stood in the Galactic Council chambers watching chaos unfold. The alien representatives were receiving reports from their homeworlds, and each new message brought more impossible news. Impossible, Chancellor Crickstall repeated, his crystal form flickering rapidly. The humans cannot have ships of this size. Our intelligence networks would have detected them. Your intelligence networks saw only what we wanted them to see, Lucas replied calmly. For 3,000 years, we have been masters of deception. The Altarian representative Vexai was frantically trying to contact his homeworld's defense forces. His compound eyes reflected the panic he was trying to hide. Our fleets report human vessels appearing in every sector. Ships that our databases have no record of. Weapons that our science cannot explain. Lucas activated his secure communicator. The transmission went directly to Admiral Patricia Wells on Earth, but it was also broadcast to every human ship in the galaxy. The time for secrets was over. All human forces, he announced, you are authorized to reveal full capabilities. The masquerade is ended. Across the galaxy, human ships that had been disguised as simple cargo vessels suddenly dropped their fake hulls to reveal advanced warships underneath. Mining stations revealed themselves as military bases. Trade posts became communication centers coordinating a vast network that spanned multiple star systems. Captain Jake Morrison watched from his transport ship as the transformation unfolded around him. His navigator, Lisa Parker, stared at the displays with wide eyes as ship after ship revealed its true nature. Captain, she said, our own ship is showing systems I never knew existed. The cargo bay just opened up to reveal weapon batteries. The life support section is actually a quantum computer. How is this possible? Every human ship has been designed this way, Jake explained. We've been preparing for this day for centuries. Even the newest crew members like you were chosen because you have the right genetic markers to handle the advanced technology. Lisa looked at her hands as if seeing them for the first time. Genetic markers? You're descended from the original star travelers? Jake said gently. Your ancestors helped build the first galactic empire. The ability to interface with our technology is in your blood? Back on the Odyssey, Captain Brooks was receiving tactical updates from across the galaxy. The scope of humanity's hidden presence was becoming clear, and it was staggering. "Captain," reported Commander Nancy Price, "we have confirmation from the Outer Rim. The ancient yards are coming online. Shipyards that have been building vessels in secret for 200 years are revealing themselves." "How many ships?" Brooks asked. "Preliminary counts suggest over 50,000 vessels of various classes. And that's just the ones we can confirm so far." The number hit Brooks like a thunderbolt. 50,000 ships meant that humanity had a fleet larger than all the council races combined. But more than that, these weren't the simple vessels the galaxy had seen humans use before. These were warships built with technology that could reshape the fundamental forces of reality. Fleet. Commander Yarthok was receiving similar reports from his own intelligence network. His aide, Veltar, looked pale as he delivered each new piece of information. "Sir, the Hegemony High Command reports human fleets appearing in every sector. Our border stations are requesting immediate reinforcement. And sir, there's something else." "What?" Yarthok demanded. "The human ships aren't just appearing. They're taking positions around strategic worlds. They're not attacking, but they're making it clear that they could if they wanted to." The implication was clear. Humanity wasn't just revealing their hidden strength. They were demonstrating that they had been watching and planning for centuries. Every important world, every military base, every government center was now under the silent threat of human weapons on New Montana. Dr. Sarah Walsh was making new discoveries in the ancient ruins. With the masquerade ended, she no longer had to hide what the archaeological teams had found. "Governor," she reported to Clark, "we've accessed the deep archives. The records go back even further than we thought. Humanity didn't just build one galactic empire. They built several. And each time they voluntarily withdrew when they felt the galaxy was better served by letting younger species develop." "Why?" Clark asked. "Why give up so much power?" "Because," Dr. Walsh said, reading from an ancient text, "true strength lies not in domination, but in the wisdom to know when to step back and let others grow." The philosophy behind humanity's actions was becoming clear. They hadn't been hiding out of fear or weakness. They had been waiting, watching, and intervening only when necessary to prevent younger species from destroying themselves or others. Captain Brooks opened another communication channel, this time addressing the entire galaxy through the quantum communication network that humanity had built in secret. "People of the galaxy," he announced, "humanity reveals itself not as conquerors, but as guardians. For 3 millennia, we have watched over the development of civilization. We have prevented wars that would have destroyed entire species. We have guided trade routes that brought prosperity to billions. We have shared knowledge through carefully placed discoveries that advanced science and culture." The truth was overwhelming. Humanity hadn't been absent from galactic affairs. They had been secretly guiding them, preventing catastrophes, and ensuring that younger species had the chance to grow and develop. "But now," Brooks continued, "forces seek to undo that progress. The Galactic Council's ultimatum threatens not just human colonies, but the careful balance we have maintained for centuries. We cannot allow that balance to be destroyed." Fleet Commander Yarthok realized with crystal clarity that his fleet was not just outgunned. They were facing a civilization that had been manipulating galactic politics for longer than most species had existed. The humans hadn't been lucky newcomers. They had been the hidden architects of the modern galaxy. "All ships," he ordered, his voice heavy with defeat, "stand down from attack positions. We are withdrawing immediately." The revelation was complete. Humanity had shown their true face to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again. 3 weeks after the revelation at New Montana, the galaxy had changed completely. The old order that had existed for hundreds of years crumbled like ancient stone as the truth about humanity spread from world to world. On Luna Base high above Earth, Admiral Patricia Wells stood in the newly built command center watching reports flow in from every corner of known space. The room was massive, filled with holographic displays showing the positions of thousands of human ships across the galaxy. Each dot of light represented a vessel that had been hidden for centuries, now taking its place in the new reality that humanity had created. "Admiral," reported Intelligence Chief Carl Mitchell, a thin man with sharp eyes who had spent his entire career managing humanity's secrets, "the hegemony has requested formal negotiations. They're offering to recognize all human territorial claims and asking for a non-aggression treaty." Wells nodded, unsurprised. The hegemony had always been the most practical of the council races. When they realized they were facing a civilization that could destroy them without effort, they chose survival over pride. "And the others?" Wells asked. "The Zephyrian Collective is offering to surrender 3 star systems as compensation for their hostile actions. The Altarian Swarm wants to discuss new trade agreements. Even the smaller species are sending ambassadors." Wells allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy's response had been faster than anyone had predicted. Within days of the revelation, species that had spent centuries arguing with each other were suddenly united in their desire to avoid humanity's anger. "What about resistance movements?" Wells asked. Carl consulted his reports. "Minimal, Admiral?" A few military commanders tried to organize defensive fleets, but they quickly realized they were dealing with technology centuries ahead of their own. Most species are too shocked to organize effective opposition. The numbers told the story. Clearly, humanity's revealed fleet consisted of over 60,000 ships, ranging from massive dreadnoughts like the Odyssey to swift scout vessels that could cross the galaxy in days. More importantly, human technology was so far advanced that a single human frigate could destroy an entire alien battle group on New Montana. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the streets of Riverside, watching as the colony transformed before his eyes. Buildings that had appeared to be simple colonial structures were revealing their true nature as advanced research facilities and military installations. "Hard to believe we kept this secret for so long," commented Governor Ben Clark, joining Morrison at an observation deck overlooking the city. Below them, massive construction robots that had been disguised as mining equipment were building new structures with materials that seemed to bend light around them. Quantum computers that had been hidden beneath the colony's power plants were now openly displaying their capabilities. "The hardest part," Morrison replied, "was watching our people get treated like children by species whose civilizations we had been watching grow from the beginning." Clark understood. For decades, human diplomats and traders had endured condescending treatment from aliens who thought they were dealing with primitives. Every insult, every dismissive comment, every assumption of human weakness had been carefully recorded and remembered. Navigator Lisa Parker, now wearing the uniform of the human Deep Fleet, approached them with a tablet full of reports. Her simple civilian clothes had been replaced with a uniform that incorporated technology she was still learning to understand. "Captain," she said to Morrison, "we're receiving requests for meetings from 12 different species. They all want to discuss adjusting their previous positions regarding human expansion." Morrison laughed. "I bet they do. 3 weeks ago, they wanted to force us back to our home system. Now they're begging us not to take their worlds away." The transformation in Lisa had been remarkable. Once she learned the truth about her heritage and humanity's real history, she had adapted to the advanced technology with surprising speed. Her genetic markers, inherited from ancestors who had once ruled the stars, allowed her to interface directly with systems that would have been impossible for others to use. In the depths of space, Captain Danny Brooks and the crew of the Odyssey were establishing patrol routes through sectors that had been human territory thousands of years ago. The ancient star charts stored in the ship's quantum memory banks showed a galaxy where humanity had once reached every corner before voluntarily withdrawing. "Navigation," Brooks ordered his helm officer. "Set course for the Andromeda transit. Point. It's time to check on our installations in the neighboring galaxy." The scope of humanity's hidden empire was beyond anything the current galaxy had imagined. Not only had they been secretly present throughout the Milky Way, but they maintained colonies and bases in 3 neighboring galaxies, connected by transportation. Networks that folded space and time. Commander Nancy Price studied the long-range sensors with amazement. "Captain, I'm reading active human installations in the Magellanic Clouds. The energy signatures suggest they've been operational for over 1,000 years. The Watchers," Brooks explained. "They've been monitoring the development of civilizations in nearby galaxies, making sure no species develops technology that could threaten the galactic balance." The revelation went far beyond what even most humans had known. The Deep Fleet wasn't just humanity's hidden military. They were the guardians of multiple galaxies, preventing wars and catastrophes that could have destroyed billions of lives on Nexus Prime. The Galactic Council chambers sat empty for the first time in 300 years. The grand building that had once hosted the most powerful beings in the galaxy now served as a museum to a dead political system. Ambassador Lucas Kane walked through the silent halls, remembering the arrogance and dismissal he had faced just weeks before. Chancellor Crixtal had fled to his homeworld the day after the revelation, along with most of the other council representatives. The few who remained were desperately trying to negotiate new agreements with humanity, offering concessions that would have been unthinkable before. "Sir," called Amy Foster, now wearing the rank insignia of a human fleet admiral, "we're receiving the final surrender documents from the council remnants. They're officially dissolving their authority and recognizing human sovereignty over all disputed territories." Lucas felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. The council had been corrupt and arrogant, but it had also provided some stability to the galaxy. Now humanity would have to decide what kind of order would replace it. "What are Earth's instructions?" Lucas asked. Amy smiled. "President Linda Foster has authorized the creation of the Galactic Cooperation Initiative. Instead of one species ruling over others, we're proposing a partnership where each civilization contributes according to their strengths. The new system would be very different from the old council. Instead of the strongest species dominating, the weakest, humanity would use their advanced technology to help other civilizations develop and grow. Trade routes would be expanded, scientific knowledge would be shared, and conflicts would be prevented before they could start. Dr. Sarah Walsh, now leading the Department of Galactic Archaeology, had made discoveries that changed everything about the galaxy's understanding of its own history. The ruins on New Montana were just the beginning. Similar sites had been found on dozens of worlds, all showing evidence of ancient human presence. "We weren't the first galactic civilization," she explained in her report to Earth Command. "We were the 4th. Each time, humanity reached across the stars, built a vast empire, and then voluntarily withdrew when they felt the galaxy would be better served by letting younger species develop. The pattern was clear. Humanity had been playing a long game for thousands of years, guiding galactic development from the shadows and intervening only when necessary. The current revelation wasn't the first time they had emerged from hiding, and it probably wouldn't be the last. Admiral Wells stood at the observation deck of Luna Base, looking out at Earth hanging in space below. The blue and green world that had given birth to humanity looked peaceful, giving no hint of the vast network of ships and bases that now openly patrolled the galaxy. "Ma'am," reported her aide, a young officer named Peter Chung, "we're receiving the final reports from all sectors. Human forces have taken position around every major world in the galaxy, not as occupiers but as protectors." "Casualties?" Wells asked. "None, Admiral. Not a single shot was fired after the initial revelation. Most species chose to negotiate rather than fight." Wells nodded with satisfaction. This was how humanity preferred to operate. They were warriors when necessary, but they were builders and protectors by choice. The galaxy would be safer under their guidance than it had been under the Council's rule. The final transmission came from President Linda Foster herself, broadcast to every human ship in the galaxy. "Welcome home, children of Terra. The long exile is over. Let us build a better galaxy together." The age of hiding was finished. The age of humanity had begun again, and this time they would not withdraw into the shadows. They would stand as guardians of a galaxy they had always protected, openly taking their place as the eldest children of the stars,